Okay, let's get started. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time. My name is Robert Gabriel. I'm the President and CEO of Microice Technology, and this is my contact information. This is a disclaimer. Anything you learn in this session, need to double check yourself. Microice cannot be held responsible for any loss of revenue or damage of data. Today, we're going to talk about version 23. Just a housekeeping item. This session will be recorded and it will be made public to all of you and even for people that were not able to attend. Mostly today, we're going to talk about version 23. It has really amazing new features. I haven't seen so many features rich in a release probably since version 19. So we were getting like a few enhancements here and there, but they had a lot of enhancement this, so it's very exciting, and I'm happy to present it for you. I'm going to give you a survey. I need your answer, so this way I can gear the meeting toward the audience. So the first question is, what version of Medisoft you are using today? So if you can please vote. So this is the results. Wow, this is unexpected. We have 45% of the attendees are on version 19 or older, and 36 on version 20, and only 9% on 21 and 22, and nobody's on cloud. That's surprising. Let's get started with a quick presentation.
Medisoft, tried and true with decades of experience, and that matters when it comes to maintaining a healthy practice. Now, with Medisoft v23, the solution you know and love is even more powerful. Insurance card scanning offers a new level of convenience. Now you have the patient's current insurance information at your fingertips. Auto-assign statement notes and document transactions in 3 unique fields. Reduce duplicate patient records with advanced matching capabilities. Flag problem areas with new color coding functionality in AR Tracker. And forget rejections. Our timely filing calculator means you'll never miss another deadline. Revenue Manager Remittance Posting Grid now shows secondary payer, and you have the best practices just a click away with our enhanced help section.
So one of the first exciting feature is insurance card scanning. We used to get a lot of requests for that. There used to be a company, insurance card scanning. You needed to buy a third party. Do that built into the new version. Now this is just a screenshot of the screen, but let me show it to you in real action. Okay, so if you open a patient, and just like you're familiar, you edit the case. Under each of the policies, I can go here and I can have a front of the card and I can have a back of the card. Now, if you want to scan them separately, you can do front, then do another scan for the back, or some people will put the front and the back on in here. Now, you have a so if I'm doing the back, I will hit scan. Now, what scanner should you buy? Any Twen scanner. So I will, if you want, I'll give you a recommendation, but Twen, just make sure it's a Twen compatible scanner, and it doesn't matter what kind. You want to avoid network scanners or a copy machine that has, that does printing and scanning and faxing, multifunctions. You want to avoid that. You want to just get a heavy duty standalone scanner. The more specified it is, the better it is. And just make sure it's a Twen compatible, so this will be attached to the computer. You want to do this in the front desk. So if you have 3 people in the front desk, you just want to get 3 scanners, you probably can get a scanner for like $100, and it will work great. So you just hit scan. If I was connected to a scanner, it will just scan for me, and now it's my computer is looking for a scanner. I don't have a scanner connected to my computer. Each tab has its own scanning. So this is my policy 1, and this is my policy 2. This is so on my front here, front card, I decided to scan the front and the back of the card so I don't have to flip between the two. But just realize that when you first get in here, it will be blank until you click on the proper box. you will be able to see it. Now, if you want to zoom in, all you have to do is just double click, and now you can zoom in. So you can do like really nice stuff. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can crop. Let's say if there's something in the scanner that the image that you scanned you don't want, you can just cut it out. You can rotate. So just in case if you scanned it the wrong way, you don't have to scan it again. You can flip it. You can flip it horizontally or flip it vertically. So this is a really nice feature, and it's finally there. Now, if you're using an EHR, that you might want to, some people, they scan those things in EHR. You don't want to change that. The beauty about having it inside Medisoft is if there's somebody gets rejected or somebody has eligibility problem, it's easier to go here and double check the numbers than have to switch to a different software or different screens to be able to see the what card you had on file. Now, if the patient had multiple cards, so you want to have the different cases. So every time the patient changes insurance, you want to create a new case, and that's one of the major reasons why you want to create a new case is by having a new card or a new so you don't want to. I see some people create new cases for every visit. If you one of the people that create case for every visit, please stop, talk to me later. It can cause a lot of damage later on. Do not create a new case for every visit you see the patient. And unless you're doing surgeries and every visit is a new surgery, that's a different story. But do not create a new case for each visit. The questions that usually come up says, do I get to control the size of the image? So the Medisoft, because this data is stored inside Medisoft, so what Medisoft is doing a smart compression. So it's going to put the image in a good resolution, but it's condensed, it's compressed. So it's not going to cause issues with your database. Now let's recap with a quick presentation.
Insurance card scanning is now available in Medisoft version 23. Now, have a copy of the patient's current insurance card at your fingertips to verify policy numbers, have the carrier's address and phone number handy, and see copay amounts. You can also customize the resolution of the scanned image to optimize viewing. Double-click on the scanned image you want to edit. Use the editing tools to zoom in, zoom out, crop or rotate the image. And don't worry about data storage. Medisoft compresses the images before saving to store the data efficiently.
So the next thing is, so the AR tracker, it got enhanced and improved. It can improve your workflow, and they've been dabbling with the way that they want it to work, and now it's just getting better and better. So let me just show you in real. So if you click on this icon here, which is the AR tracker. Now there's filters for what do you want to track. So most of you probably used to run an aging report and you print it. It's a couple hundred pages. You give it to somebody or you divide it between multiple people. Then each person start taking notes on the pages. And before you know, the new month shows up and now you have old aging report and new aging report, and they're not talking to each other, and there's some sets of notes here and some sets of notes there. Now this is the drill down electronic version of an AR tracking. It depending on what do you want to track. You want to look at your aging report for primary, secondary, or tertiary. If I leave it blank, that means it's going to give me everything. Also, it catches anything that is not billed yet. So I can filter. The more you filter, the narrower you're gonna get the report. If I leave everything insurance and I leave everything blank, that means it's gonna give me everything. It gives me here what's the aging for each one. So I have $12,000 over 120. Then it's provider total. So this is just an old somebody has not been following up, and now I can do that and I can see all the insurance companies. So let's say I want to go after the highest one. So I'm going to click here and now I have it sorted. So AmeriGroup is my highest, and when I double click on it again, I get to see the patients that made up this number. So this patient, Christopher, is the majority of the claim. So if I double click on it, it shows me all visits that it makes that number. Now I can go back and just, I can click on those buttons here and that will take me backward, or I can just go forward like that. So I can choose to focus on which screen I want to work on. Now, once you find one, if I double click on this, it's actually going to open the transaction entry. I can actually see the remittance. So if you have electronic remittance, you'll be able to see if your remittance is attached here. So this is a great, because if you don't have electronic remittance, this is a new feature that makes the electronic remittance a lot more efficient. So it's going to give you an image of what the remittance look like. I can just edit the transaction, and up here I can right click and I can assign an AR task. So I can assign a task to me or somebody else, and the task can be just a simple follow up. What happened? Who do you assign it to? What date does it due? Once you hit OK, now it just assigns a to-do list for this person or for yourself if that's what you picked. So this is nice. Okay, so I can also add a note. Can do here and now timestamp for your control and chief of time. It's supposed to give you a timestamp with the date, time, initials of the person taking the note, and you just start typing your note, and now you just had a note here. So each line can have its own note, and you can go back to the old note and just read it. So you can have all, like if you want to see how hard a person is working, or you want to show off how hard you work to your customer, if you're a billing company, or you have a manager that you report to, you can see how hard you're working, because medical billing is not as easy as most people think it is. So over here, for each date you're doing something, it has the notes, so it will be all here. If you're the manager, you will be able to see your own notes and other people's notes. If you're not a manager, then depending on the privilege that you have, you might be able to only see yours if you don't have the credential to see everybody else's notes. Okay, so going back to the presentation. So this is the AR tracker. Now also the added colors. People respond better to colors. So maybe flag number 2 is authorization expired, reference out of the collection. So those are all the different flags that you can assign to a transaction. Now also, so this is how the colors will show up. So it will flag the patient itself. So when you look at it, you will see it there. There's also a very nice new feature, which is also tells you when is the timely filing for this particular insurance. So each insurance, you can say that your Medicare is 365 days or 1 year, but your Aetna is 90 days and your Cigna is 90 days. So this way, when you're following up on claims, you want to catch things based on timely filing. So because if you only have 5 hours to work today, you want to catch the ones that you might lose by tomorrow. So by doing the timely filing field, you can sort by it and catch the things that about to expire. So that's much better than running an aging report and waiting for the results. So that's a really nice feature. They added another feature if you do an electronic remittance. There was a limitation with electronic remittance that you don't have control over the remittance when it comes in. So if you disagree with the payment or the adjustment, or you want to add a note, it was not easy to add a note while you're posting the payment electronically. You had to depend on the messages that comes directly from the electronic remittance or the EOB, electronic EOB. But in here, it gives you a lot more flexibility. So number one is it shows you for claims with the secondary payer. So it shows you that the secondary payer, it easily identifies the secondary payer, and also it allows you to add notes. Now, notes, for many, many years, people call me and say, well, I only can add 1 note per line. If you create a statement note, you will lose it if you do transaction note or other notes. So now you can actually have three different type of notes simultaneously. So let me show you what that means. So let's say I'm adding a transaction note to this here. So when I click on notes, so now I have three boxes. So this box is transaction note. This is for internal use only. Anything you type here is going to show on your statements or the patient statements. And this is other notes. So you might have an electronic notes that needs to go on the electronic, or if you're doing certain type of billing, you might need to do certain type note that goes attached to the claim. So in the old that we only, once we have one note, if you do another note, it overwrites it. But now they consolidate it into three different categories, so you can have technically all three type of notes together in the same line. So that's really handy. Now, also, when I was receiving the electronic remittance, based on the message that I'm getting, I can control a manual. I can pick one of my notes, which is it's called rejection code, which is really whatever you want to tell the patient. This is when to your deductible, or so you can do that. We used to do that manually, as you all know. So let's say if I'm receiving an EOB here, so let's say it's Aetna, or no, it's American Behavior. Okay, and let's say it's $700. You do apply. You have that. You create your canned messages that shows up on statements, but now you're able to do that in electronic. I'm not able to show you the electronic remittance because it needs to be live data, and I can not show live data on a broadcast like this. Okay, so let's move on. Now, based on the code that shows on your electronic remittance, you can actually program the message that you want it to show up on the statement. So for example, if you have a CO100, you might want to send a friendly message or a particular message to the patient on the statement why you passing that charge to them. So depending on the code that comes on ERA, the message can be corresponding. That's huge. That's really big for busy practice. Okay. And this is the note buttons that I was talking about as you're receiving. This is how it looks when you're receiving electronic remittance. So you get to choose which message that you wanted to populate, and that will show up on the statement. So it saves you from having to get out and do it again. And most people, it was inconvenient to go back and forth to, it's nice to use the electronic remittance, but it's also important to explain to the patient why this is the responsibility. Also, Billflash is an add-on product that allowed you to send statements to the patient so you don't have to print them in-house. And also, Billflash allowed you to receive payment online or receive payment in the office. People requested that, well, I'm receiving payment, it's nice, but what happened? I want to be able to use my cash payment the same steps as my credit card. So Billflash only lets you do credit card payment, but now they let you do cash payment. Now the cash obviously is staying at your office. It's not going anywhere electronically, but you're able to track things from the same screen, so you don't have to deal with two different, or maybe the payment was split between cash and credit card, so it can be done in one step. If you have not used Billflash, I would highly recommend it. It's one of the best add-on. It saves you money and it improves cash flow, because unfortunately patient thinks that doctors are so rich and they don't need to get paid right away. But if you're persistent and sending statements without too much effort on your end, you will increase your cash flow tremendously by sending consistent statements, professional looking statement that people don't call you and say, I don't understand this. Now, this is not a new feature, but I just want to talk about it in here. This is the new Medicare card. Most of you saw this in version 23 and 22. It will verify the numbers for you. So this is a lot of alphanumeric. So if you mix one of those numbers, if you put it a 7 instead of a K, it will give you, it will not accept it, or just will turn it into orange, yellow. And if you do it right, it will verify that it's green. So when you see, as you entering the policy number, let me just show you what I mean. So if this policy number was Medicare, if you're wondering why this is fast, is because it's cloud. It's Medisoft Cloud I'm using. Okay. Opening a patient. So let me open Dwight here. That's a fake patient. I'm going to go and edit this case. Under policy one, you're going to see something new only in 23. You're going to see this field change from policy number to policy number / MBI. And it has a checksum. It has a mechanism to validate if the number that you're typing is valid or not. So if I go and change one of those numbers to something else, then you will have a yellow button and the yellow highlight. That means this number is not valid, because each digit in here, each position, it needs to have particular characters, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. So this is just a confirmation. So there's a certain syntax that, if you're probably familiar with already, that each position can be a character or a number, and the software shows that up. Now, also, it's really important that the AMA, which was totally surprising for me and many people, that the AMA copyrighted CPT code. So if you enter your own CPT code, technically you're violating the AMA license agreement. And because Medisoft is not licensed by provider, it's hard for Medisoft to give you the license with the CPT code in it. Now, we fixed that in Medisoft Cloud. So if you have Medisoft Cloud, you get a license for the CPT code for the AMA. Now, I'll show you what that means in a second. So some people say, well, I'm only using 99212 or 99213. That's all I use. I don't use it. Do I need to buy a license? And the answer is yes. If you're using any CPT code, unless you're making your own codes, ABC 1 to 3, that is not a registered, it's not a CPT code, then you don't. But in most cases, everybody uses the standard CPT code. So the AMA wants to get a fee, and it's a yearly by provider. We never had to do that before, but the AMA is cracking down on it. Now, let me tell you the good news and the bad news. The bad news is really you have to pay for something that you didn't have to do it before. The good news, there's an advantage for it. So let me show you what is the advantage. So let's say if I'm working on my CPT code and I'm a billing company, or I'm a practice that I just found out those new codes were added. So when you click add CPT code, this is going to be a live interface online. So if you're a surgeon, you have the codes between this number and this number. I can go down, and this is all the sub surgeries. So maybe this is my specialty, and maybe I want to get all those codes. Now I can pick and choose. Maybe I don't want this one, or I can just drill down. So this is how granular you can get. So when I have this box on and all of this box on, all of this code is going to get into the software with a click of a button. So all those codes were just added for me. All you have to do is just put the prices, because they all came with a zero price. So that's the beauty about adding a new code. Or if you're a billing company, you can add, you picked up a certain specialty, you can add those codes with a few click of a button, so you don't have to do a lot of data entry. So that's the good news. Now, if you have Medisoft Cloud, we include that license for you if you have Medisoft. A lot of people always ask for what report should you run when. So this is inside the new version of Medisoft. If you go to help, so they added best practice reports. So this is the patient day, daily, what you should run, monthly, and quarterly, year and year end. So those are the type of report that's recommended run a practice. So I get that question all the time. Now Medisoft decided in version 23 to give you a list of the report that best practice that they find that most people like to. Okay, Medisoft Cloud. You heard me saying that multiple times. So it's always the latest version in the cloud. You don't have to worry about compatibility of your hardware. You don't need to buy new machines. If you decided to go work from a Starbucks on a Sunday morning, you will be able to do that. We take care of everything. We take care of the upgrades. You have unlimited support. We take care of your training. It has a CPT code license. You can use it anywhere. You don't have to worry about backups. It's heartbreaking when people call me and says, I thought Susan was backing up, or I thought the IT company was backing up, and I lost everything. I almost get a call every other week where somebody loses everything. Especially with crypto virus is really at a high rise, and a lot of people get affected, and it's amazing how many people don't have a backup. Now, you might think you have a backup. According to statistics, 65% of people that have backup, they don't have it when they need it. So even if you think you have a backup or you're doing a backup, there's a 65% chance that it doesn't work. Now, it's heartbreaking when I find out that people don't have a backup and don't know about it, or they thought somebody else was responsible for it. So if you go Medisoft Cloud, you don't have to worry about backup. If something happened, we can get you up and running and to operate from any other locations, because now your data is in the cloud. Is it safe? Absolutely. It's much safer than what you have now. It's one low price. It's a flat fee. You will get all your upgrades, and it has the highest security that can possibly be implemented. Okay, so before I go to Q&A, there's another infomercial. I get a lot of calls on faxing and secure messages. I want to send a fax, but I don't want to use the online faxing that it's unsecure. It goes by email. So we have a new product called UpDocs. And UpDocs is the pioneer of faxing and patient portal. So don't let me explain what patient portal here. Faxing is you can communicate with your patient in a secure way by an online portal. So you have a portal that you give access to the patient can send you messages, you can respond to it, or you can communicate with the patient or another doctor using secure faxes. So it's called patient portal, but it's really nothing more than a two-way communication that in a secure way. Now, we had UpDocs for a while, and but a lot of people say, I have a high volume, I can't afford to pay by number of pages. Now they added a new plan that it's unlimited. So you can send unlimited faxes, and it's for one flat price. So if you considering going electronic with faxing, it's highly recommended. And the beauty about it, I can find out what faxes I received in the office on my iPhone or iPad or whatever smartphone you're using. So it's really nice, and you can respond to somebody by using your mobile devices. Okay, so that was it for infomercial, and now I like to give you one more question. I just want to know what is your answer on this. If you're considering Medisoft Cloud, yes, you're going to upgrade. You're not sure yet you want to upgrade, or you will not upgrade. So can you please answer? Okay, and this is the results. So 8% considering the cloud, 50% do you want to upgrade, and 42% they're not sure yet. So hopefully in the Q&A, you can ask me questions that can change your decision on upgrading. So let's open the floor for questions. Okay, so on the first question is coming on version 19 reports and data entry are very slow. Was it improved on version 23? Now, it depends on what you're doing. You remember when I said there's people that uses a new case for every visit. Hopefully you're not one of them, because that's the number one reason why I see data slow. Also, your server might be under power. You might not have enough disk space for caching memory. You might not have enough CPU power. So I need to, that question is hard to answer. Their, version, every version uses more resources. So if you're using the same hardware, most likely it's going to be slower, not faster. But if you move to the cloud, you're going to run it as fast as you saw me running it. Uh, but if if your server that you're using today is 5 to 6 years old, maybe and you want to stay on premise, then maybe you should consider a new server. Now, version Windows 7 is going to go out of date in January, in a few months. So you're not going to be HIPAA compliant if you're using Windows 7 or before, of course. So you might want to consider upgrading your operating system as well. So version 23 is going to be faster if you have the right hardware and you're not using the software not the way it was intended. The software, maybe 20 years ago, we trained people to create a new case for each visit because you could not change the diagnosis between a line to another like you can now. But since, for the last 17 years, we don't need a new case for each visit anymore. So that's the number one reason why I see database, because every time you create a new case, it duplicates everything for you. It duplicates your insurance information, the guarantor, and all of that. So you just keep duplicating stuff, and your data will grow out of hand. Okay, so I think I have a hand here. We have a question here. What are the monthly payment for Medisoft Cloud? So Medisoft Cloud can be as low as $69 a month per user. That's for above 10 users. So depending on the number of users that you have. So the more users you have, the lower price per user per month will be. If you only have a single user, it's going to be, slightly higher. We're running a promotion now that you get the first 6 months at a 50% off. So, you can call me or call the sales department after the meeting. We'll give you the exact prices based on how many people that you want. Okay, so the second question was also regarding the one low flat price per month. Can you please explain? So, it's the same answer. Is it depend on how many users you have, and it depends on if you're buying during promotion time. So we have a great promotion going on between now and November 2nd. That's actually next, not this coming Friday, the Friday after. So it's in 10 days. Unbelievable. It's already going to be November. So if you're considering upgrading, it's the time to do it now. So either for cloud, you're going to get 6 months at a 50% off, or if you're on premise, you will get a really deep discount if you're still on premise. Any other questions? Okay, well, again, I'm going to make this public, so you can watch it, or maybe send it to somebody that that we're not able to attend. I'm going to create new ones in the next couple of weeks, new meetings. So during those user groups, you can ask any questions outside of the topic that I'm doing. So I cover the agenda, then I dedicate the last half hour, 45 minutes for you. Anything you want to learn about Medisoft or any suggestion you have, you can share it with us. I think I have one question. Okay, can I? Okay, can I please tell you more about making payment to AMA? $49. Okay, so what do you, so I'm not sure if that's a question or that's a comment. So it says, can you please tell me more about making payment to AMA $49 per month? So if you have version 22 or higher, you can actually add the license within your Medisoft, so you don't have to make separate payments. So it is, I think it's $49 per year per provider or per NPI. And when you have Medisoft, it's actually much easier to have it. So when you're registering your software, there's a license and registration for the CPT code. So you will get a serial number just like you get with your regular Medisoft, and you can just have it integrated into your software, so you don't have to deal with different agreement. So it's built in. If you have older than version 22 and you want to pay the AMA, you need to do that on your own. You need to call the AMA and ask them that you want to comply with the license and pay them $49 per year. I hope I answered your questions. Any other questions? Okay. All right. I have a question here. I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher your name. Kelsey?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you're on the air.
Okay, I was wondering if you could show one more time how to scan in the insurance cards to Medisoft.
Of course. So if you are in the case, you edit the case, and you go to whatever policy you want, and you hit the scan button. So if you connect it with the TWAN scanner, it will communicate with the scanner and put the image on the screen. If you're not connected to the TWAN scanner, let's say if you have a network printer that accesses the scanner and you have the image somewhere on your network, then I can just go here and say load file, and then you browse where the file is, and you point where the file is and just point it and scan it and link it to that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, well, good time flies fast. Again, if you want to send me a question that you were not ready to ask it now, this is my contact information. And I want to thank you so much for your business. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me today, and I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Robert Gabriel, and I'm hosting today's seminar. I'm the President and CEO of MicroWise Technology, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. Some housekeeping. Number one is this seminar is being recorded, and it will be made available public. So you will get a link to this seminar if you want to view it later on. We're finishing in 1 hour, and I'm going to go over the agenda. Then we're going to have a Q&A at the end. We're going to start with covering the same topic on the agenda, but after we run out of questions, you can ask any question about Medisoft or the industry or anything that you want me to answer for you. So the best way to participate, if you call the number should be showing on your right-hand side. If you have an audio, then you can raise your hand, regardless if you're calling on a phone or if the computer plugs in to a microphone. Raising the hand is like a little hand. When I see that, I will unmute you if you connect it to the microphone or a phone, and you will be able to ask the question. If you don't have access to an audio, please type your question. I'll do my best to read the questions and answer all your questions. So let's get started. Okay, so this is me, Robert Gabriel. This is my contact information. You're welcome to contact me anytime. The disclaimer, anything you learn in this seminar or any other seminar, MicroWise cannot be held responsible for any accuracy or any damage that might happen to your data as a result of something you learn at the seminar. The agenda is we're going to talk about the new Medicare beneficiary ID. We're going to talk about the change in the jar file if you have a Relay Health account, if that's your clearinghouse. We're going to talk about the new mandatory CPT code that's required to be compliant by the AMA. So now you need to buy that license separate unless you are on micro titanium or cloud, and we take care of that for you. We're going to talk about why cloud is good and best practices working on your AR, how to write off all balances, if it's positive or negative, if it's the patient balance or insurance balance. Then we're going to have an offer for the Medisoft 22 upgrade if you are interested. Then we're going to open for Q&A. So the new Medicare card. So some of you might have got this, some of you might not, depending on what state you are in. I know I've seen so many of them. A lot of patients are coming into practices with the new. Now, if you have a Medisoft version 22 Service Pack 1, so if you have 22 version Service Pack 1, I'm going to show you what's going to happen or what is it going to look like. So when you